Yes, hello, and it's a good afternoon in Australia, and it's a good morning to our listeners in the UK. They'll be obviously jumping to daylight saving very shortly. And without further ado, Andrena, of course, is the young lady in the blue outfit there, just sitting right on top of me. And our guest, of course, is just below me, which is usually a very rare situation to be in because I'm normally at the bottom of the totem pole. But since our guest is in the same location as me, it's a bit of bravado on my place to dig a hole and continue digging the hole. Andrena, take it away.
Morning, Jeffrey and Bronwyn, and welcome to Dreaming the New Dream for everybody who's listening today, and especially if you're listening to our replay. So 14th of March today, so we're swiftly moving through March, and I believe Good Friday is on the 29th of this month. It's really early this month. Anyway, today it's my great pleasure to welcome Bronwyn Holm, founder of Earth Food. So welcome, Bronwyn. It's really lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited, actually. I have a story to tell, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity for that.
Well, this is what it's all about, is that everybody's sharing their stories of how they're helping humanity, dreaming the new dream. So I got lots of questions and I'll ask as we go along the way. So my first question would be, how did your early life shape up to who you are now and where you are now?
Right. Well, I'm going to start right back at the very beginning of my lineage here in Australia. So my great-great-grandfather, Egbert Holm, was arrived here in Australia in the mid to late 1800s. He brought his culture with him. So you have a culture for sourdough, you have a culture for yogurt. And he was the head winemaker at Hermitage Estate Wineries here in the famous vineyards in New South Wales. And he used his living microbes in the fields there in the vineyards. Now, back in those days, and even today, if you don't use your microbes within 36, 48 hours, they will die because they've got to live in somewhere. And they don't live in water, they don't live in oxygen, they don't live with chemicals. They can die when they're exposed to sun. So, but that's how it was back then. His great-great-granddaughter, me, working with a soil scientist who was able to take the IP and create the microbe where it's suspended in its own juices or its own environment. And that means then they're put to sleep. And now we have a bottle, which is this one here. And this bottle can last over 10 years.
Really?
Now, yep, on a shelf. And it probably longer. We only started to assess it 10 years ago because we wondered. So what we do is there's a nutrification process in the fermentation, and it's not made with chicken manure like a lot of teas are, which are high in nitrogen. It is made with a culture of microbes that have been made to make this. Now, if you can imagine, it's a bit like kombucha, you know how we have kombucha for your health, your gut health. It's the same thing. So it's a probiotic for your soil. That's it. And the most wonderful thing about my life was that we've continued to use natural products in growing. I'm actually a child of the Lockyer and Brisbane valleys. So that's a big food bowl and in Australia, and it contributes to the food distribution around Australia. So that was my background. And I can tell you, my grandparents, anything that would hold a bit of dirt It could have been a Milo tin, or a coffee cup, or an old dunny can that my grandfather would have made as a tinsmith in those days. If it could hold dirt, there was something growing in it. Old concrete washing tubs, anything. And they were basically what I would term today pot growers. Interestingly enough, I am a pot grower, and not that I decided to be that. It's just that I don't have the availability of space where I live, and I found that I have neighbours with very tall trees. So I figured I would grow my food in large pots, and I drag them around the backyard to follow the sun. So the winter sun would be different to the summer sun. And sometimes the summer sun would be stingingly hot here in Brisbane, very tropical temperatures, and very, very blasting in the sun, the heat. So I need to drag them into more filtered light. So that's just became a lifestyle for me. So yeah, here we are, and this product now is very special because since the last 10 years, we've spent a lot of time to be able to get the certifications that run along the bottom. Now, I would have to say we would probably be the only company in Australia and possibly the world without, that I haven't found one since, who has all these certifications. So we have in America, we're USDA, OMRI, CCOF certified, 100% organic. We have Southern Cross here in Australia. We have EcoCert in throughout Europe. And we also have Regenerate and Carbonate. We're part of the Australian standards. We are part of the Trade Organic Association. We're members of so many different groups, and we've got vegan, the International Vegan Association pending right now, because we're not made on chicken manure, so we're perfect for vegans. We're probably the only company that actually has gone out of its way for every single one of those symbols that we have on the logos, on the labels, is at least a 2-year trial. And with that, you're looking at years of work there. It was done purely as a, to give farmers commercial confidence, because anyone can do anything these days. And if this is someone's livelihood, they need to be able to be almost guaranteed that it's not going to hurt their fields. A lot of people have products now in the marketplace that are very simple and very, very similar, but they're nowhere near similar. What you'll find, it's either a worm juice, or it's a salty kelp tea, or it's, what else would it be? You know, something to do with rock minerals or something like that. They actually don't do anything for the soil. Now, I've got so much to tell you. So the soil, let's look at that. We have had 40 in Australia, and I know it's a lot more. There's $48 billion in products sold from the big ag product cartels around the world. But in Australia, it's 48 billion. And there's 2 major products that is sold, one of them being Roundup, and another one is a brand that is, turned out it's 97% water and 3% seaweed, not even kelp, it's just a seaweed that's been imported from China, mixed with that, plus a little bit of nitrogen. So you've actually got a salty water with a little bit of nitrogen as one product. I won't say the brand. And the other one is Roundup, and that's glyphosate. Both of them designed to kill the microbes. And they're the number one product in everybody's garage in Australia. Now, I know that the same thing's happening in the UK. You have a company over there called Scott's, and they have a product that is very similar. And I have to say to people, it's like you need to read what's on, you need to shop from the back of the labels, not the front. The fronts look great. The marketing is superb. The wording is amazing. And it makes us want to buy these things. And because we don't know any other way, we feel, we need this for our citrus tree. Oh, our lawn's not doing well. We'll need to get some of this. Oh, our soil is rock hard. We have to do something about that. Well, I don't know what's happened to our grass. It's just all disappeared. Oh, we've got so many weeds right now. Don't know what's happening to the garden. We've got so many insects right now. Every leaf is eaten off the grape. Everything, I hear it all the time. I go around and I speak to big gardening clubs every month. I'm talking to somebody. I ask them, how are your insects going in your yard? Oh, terrible, terrible. How's the soil going? Oh, yes, it's very dry. We can be watering it, and then and an hour later it's all dried out, like we hadn't watered it. My thing then leads me to this. It's the products from the cartels that is killing our soil, one backyard at a time. We are at a very serious point. I just heard the other day, fire ants are everywhere, and they're going into places they've never been before. An expert told me they only go into dry, crumbling land. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if we had the living microbe in there, it wouldn't be dry and crumbling. It'd be moist and springy, alive. They couldn't live in it. It has to be dry. So here is a point right now. Every single thing we're adding to our backyard is actually creating the problems that we're thinking that we want to get rid of, that we've actually created. So the difference between all of this is earth food is a living microbe. Now, it comes to life when we add it to water. You've got to think of water as a vehicle. So it's the bus. So it's like the bus saying, okay, guys, everybody in, I'm taking you home. Home is in a cellulose cell or in the soil. That's it. That's any places they live. Now, the microbes, when you use them, I prefer to spray the leaves. It's more economical that way. Some people like to put it in a watering can and dribble it along. But I think you can go through too much product that way, particularly if you're not used to monitoring your output. So when you spray it on the leaves have a molecular, cellular change. A healthy leaf is hexagon. A sick leaf is oblong. Guess what? The insects can tell the difference. The insects will only attack the sick and dying. So if I died tonight and they said, oh, put her outside, in the morning I'd be covered in insects because that's their job. They are to clean up the sick and dying. If you've got insects right now and diseases on your plants, they're sick, your soil is sick. There needs to be a change. The microbes will go all through the leaves, down the stems. The whole tissue culture is filled with the living microbe. Goes down into the roots. The roots become dense, thick and strong, and they produce the sugar which feeds the microbes. And by the way, plants like to farm them because if the more microbes they have, the healthier they are. So the sugar feeds the microbes, and then the microbes will give to the plant all the nutrients. Let me tell you how they do it. Mother Nature has been so wonderful to us. Everything we've ever needed exists right now. We've just got to just stop doing what we've been doing, which we have been doing for 80 years. So the microbes will unlock all the nutrients in the soil. It's already in there. You don't have to go and buy another bag of anything to add. And I can say the same for other kinds of farming, like permaculture, for example. A lot of hard work. Save your back, save your money, save your time. So the microbes unlock the nutrients in the soil, and then they make trace minerals and selenium. And then they'll all come up to the top and they'll pull down atmospheric nitrogen. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm actually breathing 78% nitrogen. I'm not breathing whole pure oxygen. It's nitrogen. So the microbes will come up, they'll bring down the nitrogen and the carbon into the soil, and what they call fixation. It fixes it into the soil. And that's how you get carbon sequester. So that actually comes from the atmosphere and it's locked down in there. So the other thing that they do is they make tiny little nano holes all through the soil. It's so that the water can be absorbed into the soil. Now, looking at that picture right there, you can see the soil has a little bit of a crumbly look. It's not hard like clay, and it's not sandy. It's dark chocolate, fertile, living soil. It's not the dark, grey, dried, hard, dusty dirt. Now, the microbes making these tiny little nano holes throughout, they're restructuring the soil so it has water absorption. If you have like hot day, cool night, that's made condensation in your soil, just that fact alone. If you have rain, instead of the rain sitting on 2 inches of your top levels, it actually percolates all the way down deep into the root structure. If it didn't have live microbes, it would be baked hard, or it would be like a slurry. The water would hit the surface, just squeeze itself through by about 2 inches, and it would go down what we call here invisible waterways. It'll just follow a track, a treacle, and off it goes. You won't actually get to keep it or capture it. Now, the microbes have a symbiotic relationship. They put a biofilm over the roots, and all of this activity increases the immunity of the plant. Now, if you saying, well, how does that do that? Well, it's because the plant's roots are dense and strong, and the stem and the leaves have the microbes in it. The oblong shape of being sick changes to the hexagon shape. Guess what? You won't have insects. And because the roots are dense, thick and strong, you won't have weeds because there's no room. Weeds grow where the seed has been dropped, and it takes root and grows. If it can't fit in anywhere, it just won't. You can't get the weeds to grow. What else is there? Oh, there's just so much that needs to be done. That's actually a hydroponic farm that you're looking at there. So people wonder, oh, well, microbes don't live in water. Correct, but they do live in a plant cell. So that there is a pretty good farm as far as you can see, all under tents, bok choy, and hardly a bite mark in those leaves. If it was not done with earth food, the leaves sprayed with earth food, they would have bite marks all over it. So this is obviously a farm, a commercial farm. They can't afford holes because that'll be rejected by the conglomerates who buy and transport food around Australia. Australia is a very harsh place, as the whole world knows that. We have really harsh summers, and in some parts we have extremely cold, frosty nights, like where we grow apples in the Stanthorpe regions. We've got very, very desert-like. Once you've gone from the coastal region and the woodlands, then it's just desert and very dry, crusty land that you walk on. Everything's crispy, you know, the sound of leaves crunching under your feet, or the grasses are all crunchy and dead. So, and that's because it's a very tired and ancient land. I have a farmer west of Alice Springs. Now, everybody knows about the old Ayers Rock. He lives west of Alice Springs there, near the rock, and he's been trying to grow food there for a long time. He heard me talk on a Zoom TV show, and he ordered a carton of 10. He told me what he was doing, and I said, just follow this exactly as I tell you. So I said, number one, you're going to have to rehab the soil. How do you do that? This is easy. You're going to mark off the area that you want to grow your food. You're going to water it. Best to do this in the late evening. So he would water that whole patch, and then he sprayed earth food over that whole patch, and he had to cover the patch with 100 ml of sugarcane mulch. You could use anything. You could use, you know, bark chip or wood chip, or, you know, anything. And it could just be like a whole bunch of some kind of land, like a land, we have lantana is what we're called here, but you might have in England, you might have something that you can just chop up, like it could be the end of a crop and you've just got all of this debris. You can use that. It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is the soil must be covered. So he did that. 4 months later, he phones me and he says to me, I just can't believe my eyes. We've pulled back some of the hay. The soil went from red, dusty dirt to chocolate brown living soil.
Wow.
He said, I've never seen that ever, ever. He said, I'm sure this is the first time. And I said, well, actually, no. We've grown food in an agroforest in the desert. We know how to do it. And it's simply